What up, what up? Hope this finds you well. Today we're going to talk about why I quit my job and why millions of other people in 2021 are decided to do the same thing, or the great resignation, as you may call it. We're going to talk about the school system, we're going to talk about the work system, and we're going to talk about escapism and how it all played a part in building up to this point. So boom, started off with the school system. School system is the first place you go where they teach you that your self-identity, your self-worth is tied to a piece of paper. And this piece of paper says, he participated this much of the time, he, got this percentage in his class, but ultimately, you did the thing, you get the piece of paper, and is your leverage here. So now your self-identity is tied to a piece of paper that someone else gives you, It only has as much power as you give it, kind of like another piece of paper that we all been sold, but, it kind of starts with the school system. Now that flows into the work system. The work system or the workforce today is essentially the same thing. You use the leverage that you got in school, and the leverage you got in school might determine how much pieces of paper you're gonna get, but you guessed it, it's the same thing. You just spending your time and energy for a piece of paper. So now these new pieces of paper, of course people are gonna decide that's what determines how much they worth as a human being. How many green pieces of paper they have. So you can see how people aren't really getting a sense of fulfillment from their work life, because it's still your time and energy being sold back to you in this form of a piece of paper. You feel me? It's not actually representative of your self-worth as a human, as a spirit, as an extension of this life. You know what I'm saying? It only has as much power as you give to it. And if you haven't been taught how to live a fulfilled life, you're gonna feel unfulfilled in your work life. And all this unfulfillment and all this anxiety that none of us really learn how to pinpoint yet, the source of it, where it comes from, leads into escapism. What is escapism? Escapism is that 8 hours you spend at school or work, 8+ hours, and then that 8 hours you spend asleep, 2/3 of your day, takes a lot of your energy. The rest you get from sleep, a lot of it goes right back into work or school, because that stuff takes energy, physical labor, mental labor. Even if you're doing something creative for somebody, it takes energy. So when you do have that 8 hours left to yourself, that you really don't even get the full 8 hours, you gotta clean the house, you gotta take care of the family, the pets, reconnect with people. A lot of that you don't even have to yourself. When you do sit down with yourself, a lot of us end up finding ways to escape. We escape with drugs, we escape with alcohol, sex addiction, TV, pornography. We find a lot of ways to escape, ourselves, because we don't have the energy to create ourselves, to create a life that hasn't been already created for us by these systems. So how do we escape escapism? For me, it was quitting my job, and it looks like that's what millions of other kids and adults are chalking it up to right now, is they need that extra 8 hours, or at least some of it. They're going into freelance, they're taking some of their time and energy back in order to focus on their emotional well-being, focus on their mental well-being, focus on doing things that they actually like to do and they give them a sense of purpose. Finding a true sense of purpose is not hard. It's really not hard. You don't have to be a guru. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to be a lover. You don't have to be any of these ideas, these big grandiose ideas that a lot of people attach like true meaning to, true self or purpose to. It really do just be in the little things. They just don't teach you that at school, the place you sent to learn how to live your life. True purpose to me is in nature, it's in like actual self-identity. The first thing they should teach you in school is that one piece of this one thing is just life on earth, how deeply interconnected everything is and how we all aren't separate from life on earth, That just gives people the tools they need to really get involved with each other and get involved with, helping push the whole thing along, not necessarily trying to get a piece of the pie for themselves. You need to be able to regulate your thoughts and your mental well-being. We need to be able to regulate our emotional well-beings. Mental health is another thing that COVID kind of brought to the surface, and everyone wants to blame it on COVID, but no, it's been a build-up because it's perpetuated by the same systems. It's just shit they didn't teach you in school. They should have taught you in school. If you're going there to learn how to live a fulfilled life, but we all know we were just going there for a piece of paper. At school, they don't really teach you true critical thinking skills. They kind of teach you problem solving in the form of math equations or, certain things, but they don't really teach us how to be adaptable in society and nature. They don't teach you how to unlearn things and relearn new information, or really how to adapt to your life. Like it's a lot of just random facts that they throwing at you. What really exposes the whole plot of it all is the lack of actual financial literacy that you're even given in school. Like if you just do the traditional school route, which most of us do, I think you take like a semester of personal finance, and most of that semester is how to balance a checkbook, which don't even nobody need to balance checkbooks anymore. So it just shows you that they just teaching you how to play a game that they don't even really want you to know the rules to. It's just kind of plain to see. This is why a lot of people kind of waking up to it after COVID, after everybody got to sit with themselves. They just said, am I really happy going back into this system that I had no say in, and it seems wasn't really built for me? Obviously I don't blame you. It's hard to blame people once you really take a step back and look at the big picture of the situation. And I never want to end things on a negative note. Talking about all this shit can be a bummer, but it's just like COVID with mental health, just like COVID with how we've been treating the earth, it's really just an opportunity. It's just an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to just kind of check these systems, make changes where changes that need to be made, and get creative, man. We can get creative. Going back in the day, people used to trade goods and services. They didn't really have to depend on a dollar amount for what they could and couldn't do in society. It was more interdependent on community rather than community, all these separate communities and separate people in these communities being dependent on one big brother state, that has the overlying say of really what's gonna happen. So I hope this still finds you well. If it resonates with anyone, I hope it gives you hope and doesn't bring too much of a bummer on your day. And peace, love, you never alone. Peace.